everybody, welcome in to Trackalicious, where today we have round 7 coverage of the Le Mans Ultimate GT3 Sprint Championship. Tonight we head to COTA for round number 7 of the night. 2 rounds remaining. Let's see how the championship will stack up as we head into the final 2 races of the night. Or of the season, I should say, excuse me. Slightly short but sweet grid tonight. 13 drivers out on track for round number 7 as they begin to filter out of the garages and go out onto the pit lane. We will join with the drivers, the even numbered drivers, going out on track for the first 10 minutes of the 20-minute qualifying session. Justin Beachley out of the pits in his number 18 AMG, and he will lead the grid out onto the track for the qualifying session. Welcome in, everyone. Hope you're doing well. Happy Tuesday. We have 20 minutes of qualifying on the clock, followed by a 40-minute race. Mason Perchalski just behind Justin Beachley out on track, as he looks to get another podium under his name for the season. The 2 Astons of Mason Perchalski and Grant Lucarelli have been exchanging positions all season long. And going into tonight's race, it's Grant Lucarelli that has a 5-point advantage over Mason Perchalski. And Grant Lucarelli, also the one driver to dethrone Ricardo Rivera for 6 race wins on the season. Happened in round number 4 at Fuji. So we will have to wait and see how the championship stacks up between the 2 Aston Martins. Ricardo Rivera 38 points clear of Grant Lucarelli, sitting in 2nd in the championship. As Beachley and Mason Perchalski work their way across the start-finish line to begin their outlaps, Edward Pena and George Elmer, along with Alex Freeman, out on track. Just 5 drivers out for the first 10 minutes of the session. Edward Pena across the start-finish line now to begin the number 50 AMG's first qualifying lap of the session. And now we have all 5 out on a valid lap. It's looking good so far in the first sector for Justin Beachley. He has a purple sector 1 for the time being. He is, of course, the first driver out on track. So setting the time first would naturally give him that purple sector, but nonetheless, it's a quick time from him, as Mason Perchalski, Elmer, and Pena unable to improve on the sector 1 time set by Justin Beachley. And as he heads down the back straight, 1 kilometer long, separating turn 11 and the braking zone of turn 12 and into the stadium-like section, Justin Beachley on good form here in the second sector as well. Gets the purple time in the number 61, or the number 18, excuse me, using the livery of the 61. And now just a few corners left for Justin Beachley to round out his lap, and it's looking pretty good. Edward Pena able to improve on the Sector 2 time set by Justin Beachley. The two AMGs looking pretty quick in the early goings of the qualifying session. It's going to be a 209.91 for Justin Beachley. Mason Perchalski next across the line in the number 10 Aston Martin, 2.2 seconds off of the pace. Next, the Mustang of George Elmer. He is using the number 44 livery, but racing with the number 22. Out of the final comes the Mustang on home soil, splits the two at the top, goes to second place. Now Edward Pena with a purple Sector 2 can't get past the benchmark set by Justin Beachley, but it is an AMG 1-2 as it stands. Alex Freeman, the last of the five to cross the line. Can he get ahead of Mason Perchalski? Not quite on this lap. Might have had a bit of an off at one point in the Ferrari as he approaches turn one, climbing up the massive hill before shooting you right back down into turn two, and into the S's goes Alex Freeman. Riding over the curbs, trying to gain as much lap time as possible. As he completes Sector 1, he has a purple time on the board in the number 14 Ferrari. Not a good lap for Justin Beachley at the front of the grid. Yellow Sector 1 and 2. Mason Perchalski improving on his personal best and getting an overall best Sector 2 in the number 10 Aston Martin. As Freeman blasts down the back straight, Perchalski with 2 corners to go to see if he can shuffle himself up the standings a bit. 2.2 seconds behind provisional pole sitter, half a second behind George Elmer in third. This lap puts Perchalski to provisional pole, and he clears Justin Beachley by 0.8 of a second. Pena unfortunately invalidating the lap, it looks like. Not able to get a readout on his Sector 2 time, but that might be a glitch as he comes up to the line. It was a valid lap, and it was a glitch, because he improves on his personal best, but unable to improve his position. So now Alex Freeman with that purple Sector 1 improves on his time in Sector 2. Where will this put the Ferrari? He goes all the way up to second place, just under 0.2 of a second behind Mason Perchalski on provisional pole. So now with just 2 minutes left, 2 minutes left, excuse me, in the qualifying session for the even drivers. That'll just leave a couple of laps for the 5 out on track. Elmer back in the pits. Alex Freeman back in the pits as well. So now it is just a 3-horse race between Pena, Beachley, and Perchalski for the qualifying session of the even-numbered drivers. Helicopter driver still recovering from the 420 holiday yesterday. Can't quite keep up with the cars. But Beachley gets a purple sector 2 on the board. Where will that put him overall? Slightly off his time in sector 1 and slightly off his time in sector 3 as well. Crossing the line though before the 10-minute mark. So this will be the last lap for the number 18 AMG in the qualifying session. And we'll ride with the other AMG in the session. It's Edward Pena. Now just the final corner left for the number 50. We saw the glitch the lap before, and on this lap, Pena unable to improve on his personal best, still sitting in 4th place with 1 lap left in his session. So as Perchalski at the top improves on his sector 1 time as he finishes out the S's and heads down the hill into turn 11. Very tight hairpin before entering onto the long back straight. Justin Beachley, oh my goodness, getting every name mixed up. Justin Beachley just ahead of Perchalski on track there. You see the AMG just cresting behind into the braking zone of turn 12. And Beachley returns back to the pits as Perchalski unable to improve on his best time in sector 2. Still looking to conclude the lap here. As it is the triple right-hander before the final 2 lefts for Mason Perchalski in this qualifying session. Currently has the best time, but he will certainly want to try and improve it as much as he can with the even drivers rolling out on track now or the odd number drivers, excuse me, rolling out on track for their session. Perchalski to the line, can't improve on his personal best. And it's looking like the same situation for Edward Pena, yellow sector 1 and 2. Now just out of the final corner for the 50 AMG for the final time in the qualifying session. Can he get an improvement in the final sector? He can. Gains about 0.3 of a second. Stays in 4th place, but that should help him solidify his position in the qualifying session with the even numbered drivers rolling out on track. And it's Leo Polanco who will lead the grid. And in fact, it is going to be Jake Terrell who leads the grid. Coming out of the final corner, front brakes on the Porsche glowing red hot as the rest of the grid looking to start their first qualifying laps of the session. Terrell leads them out in the number 83 Porsche, switching from the AMG for this session. We'll see how Jake gets on with the flat 6 engine hanging off the rear axle compared to the front mounted engine in his AMG. Brian DeSantiago in the 87 Lexus, oversteering through turn 9 and slowing the rest of the grid down as they try to go through turn 10. And unfortunately there, Brian DeSantiago was complaining that the back end wasn't turning in the practice session. Surely found a fix to that problem there. Thank you for the follow and cheers, Beachley and Xander Zone, Alex Freeman for the hydrates. 2 big sips of tea. As Luca Razza in the number 35 Ferrari gets a purple sector 1 on the board. Ricardo Rivera with a purple sector 2 as the Lamborghini looks to get another provisional pole on the season. Jake Terrell and Leo Polanco ahead of Rivera. Terrell goes to the top, gets a session best 3rd sector as Ricardo Rivera goes all the way to the top with a 2:08. Jake Terrell just a 10th behind Ricardo Rivera's provisional pole time. Leo Polanco goes 7th. Laurandi puts his Mustang up to 8th. Dr. Porkchop goes to 10th. Zach Terrell in 11th. Brian DeSantiago 13th. And what can Luca Rassa do after getting a purple sector 1 on the board? Goes all the way to provisional pole. Clears Ricardo Rivera by about 3.5 tenths of a second. So Zach Terrell and Brian DeSantiago a little off the pace there, but we saw the spin from Brian DeSantiago, and I think Terrell had to slow down to avoid any sort of contact with the Lexus, so we should see some more representative times from them on their second go-around. As it stands, though, Radza at the top, Rivera takes 2nd, Jake Terrell in 3rd, and Jeremy Wasson here in the 69 Lexus sits in 4th. Perchalski in 5th, Alex Freeman 6th, Justin Beachley in 7th, Pena 8th, Polanco in 9th, and Laurandi rounds out the top 10. Much busier session with the odd number drivers. 4 minutes left on the clock. Can the odd number drivers find an improvement after their first attempts? Oh, and Jake Terrell having a spin out of the penultimate corner, getting the Porsche back and pointed in the correct direction. So it'll be Leo Polanco across the line first. Can't improve from 7th. Or excuse me, does improve to 7th. He was sitting in 9th. And now he is the lead AMG. Laurandi improves to 9th, pushes Pena down to 10th. Oh, and Leo Polanco goes spinning out of turn 6. Rejoining the track there with Ricardo Rivera and the Porsche of Jake Terrell going through. Luca Razza unable to improve his personal best at the top, a 2:07.849, the provisional pole time for the grid to chase down. It's looking good for Ricardo Rivera. He's got a purple sector 1 on the board. A little bit of thinking time as they go down the back straight, lining himself up for the braking zone. Porsche will be happy to get any sort of slipstream advantage from the car in front. Brakes glowing red hot on both the Lamborghini and the Porsche as they exit the stadium section. Now just the double apex right-hander. Great view from the observation tower here at COTA of this complex. As Rivera unfortunately down on his time in sector 2, but Can he make up for that lost time in Sector 3? Out of the final corner comes the Lamborghini. Can he get closer? No, he gets past the provisional pole time of Raza and finds himself on the top with a 2:07.577 set by the Lamborghini. Zach Terrell with a big improvement, making it an all-Terrell second row. Jake leads Zach in the 33 Mustang, but that was a big improvement from Zach Terrell. And Raza gets pretty close to Ricardo Rivera's time, within a tenth of a second. 75 hundredths separate the top two at the front of the field. Ricardo Rivera going quicker still in Sector 1 as Raza down on his time on their last qualifying lap attempts here. Timer at 0. Checkered flag will be waving as Raza just slows down, and that'll be the session done for the Ferrari. It's the same story for Terrell in the 83 Porsche. He goes to the pits from third. Rivera looking to put an even more dominant time to separate himself from the Ferrari of Raza even further. And now just the final corner remains for Ricardo Rivera to try and build that gap. Can he find it? Across the line he goes, builds it up to over a tenth of a second. And so Ricardo Rivera with that time will take provisional pole as it stands. No improvements from Terrell as he crosses the line. What will it be for Jeremy Wasson? Needs a tenth to get ahead of Terrell, and he can't find the time at the end. Still going to be a top 5 start for the Lexus as he parks up behind the Rolex sign. As Brian DeSantiago, the last driver on track, spinning out of the penultimate corner and into the wall before the pit lane. So that will be the session done, as we will head into the 40-minute race ahead. Into the race.
Go to the grid for a race start.
Into the race session we go, and from back to front on the grid, George Elmer will start from the back in 14th in the number 22 Mustang. Alongside him in 13th, Dr. Porkchop in the number 71 Aston Martin. Then come the 3 AMGs. Edward Pena starts from 12th in the number 50. Justin Beachley in the middle in the number 18 starts from 11th. And Leo Polanco with the Red Bull livery starts inside the top 10 in the number 51. Then you have Brian DeSantiago in 9th in the 777 Lexus. Chris Larondi in 8th in the 317 Mustang, with a new livery this week. Ahead of him is Alex Freeman in the number 14 Ferrari, with Mason Perchalski starting from 6th in the number 10 Aston Martin. Jeremy Wasson gets a top 5 start in the number 69 Lexus, and then it is an all-Terrell second row. Zach Terrell in 4th in the number 33 Mustang, with brother Jake alongside him in the 83 Porsche. On the front row, making their season debut, Luca Raza in the number 35 Ferrari, getting a front row start And as it's been for a majority of the season, Ricardo Rivera takes provisional pole in the number 53 Lamborghini. Will it be race win number 6 on the season tonight? Can Raza get himself onto that front row, or onto that top position of the podium? Mason Perchalski a little out of position in 6th. Does he have the race pace to try and claw his way up to the podium positions? What can the Terrells do? Starting from the 2nd row of the grid. And as the grid gets ready to go racing, a long run into turn 1. Who will lead into turn number 1? Will it be the Italian manufacturers at the top? Will it be the Terrells behind, as at the moment Raza has to cover off the Porsche of Jake Terrell, who gets a great start. He's in the slipstream of Ricardo Rivera, who leads into turn 1, gets to the apex first, and Jake Terrell takes advantage of the slipstream from the Lamborghini in front, and he gets up to 2nd place. That'll shuffle Raza down into 3rd. Jake Terrell trying to get through in the S's as well. That'll be very tricky to do there, as the helicopter provides a great shot here of the 14 cars going through the S's. So far, the only change we've had is Brian DeSantiago getting shuffled down a little bit down the order, and Jake Terrell making the move, as it's Zach Terrell going wide at turn 10, gives the inside to the Aston of Mason Perchalski, who moves up to 5th. Oh, and Jake Terrell and Raza may have been contact between the Ferrari and the Porsche, as the Porsche was stranded on the right-hand side of the track. Raza able to get back going on the left. Zach Terrell with the slipstream after giving the position to Mason Perchalski at turn 11, gets the switchback into turn 12, but now Mason Perchalski has the inside line. The Mustang gonna squeeze the Aston as much as possible, but it is Mason Perchalski who gets a good exit, and into turn 14, or turn 16, excuse me, he will have the position solidified. So with Raza and Terrell getting shuffled down the grid, that'll move the Lexus of Jeremy Wasson up to 2nd, which also means that Mason Perchalski and Zach Terrell here are fighting it out for the final podium position. Alex Freeman with a good clean getaway. He's in the top 5. Chris Larandi with a good start as well. He's got Raza all over him behind, flashing the lights, sending it to the inside of turn 1. Can Chris Larandi fight off the Ferrari? He's going to have the inside going down the hill into turn 2 and into the S's, thinking about going side by side, almost getting the switchback done, but there is just no room to fight side by side through the S's there. So Chris Larandi holding on to the place, but Ali Raza with the late move into turn number 6. Or 7, excuse me. The S's so confusing with all of the corners and turn directions, and that's Justin Beachley getting through Leo Polanco to be the lead AMG on the grid. And the 3 AMGs continuing to battle it out. Justin Beachley now leads the trio, with Polanco in the middle and Edward Pena rounding out the AMGs in the top 10. And down the back straight we go. Ferrari gets through. Pena with the late move into turn 12. He goes a little deep, gives the position back to Polanco. But in doing so, Dr. Porkchop also able to go through in the 71 Aston Martin. So that means the Doctor now has a spot in the top 10. And there's Brian DeSantiago trying to go down the inside with Jake Terrell in the Porsche trying to go the long way around. But in doing so, he now has the inside for the triple right-hander. And as they cut behind the tower, Jake Terrell gets through Dr. Porkchop as well. At least he momentarily did. And he did indeed. Oh, and Porkchop in the pits. What's happened here to Dr. Porkchop? Is he running out of fuel already? Just 5 minutes into this one, Dr. Porkchop having to take an early, unscheduled pit stop. So Raza making up ground very effectively. He already got through Alex Freeman. Or no, he did not get through Alex Freeman. He's right on the back of the Ferrari though. And looking to get the grip out of turn 9. Down the hill we go into the braking zone of the hairpin at turn 11. Freeman leads Raza in the battle between the two Ferraris. Raza gets a good exit right on the back of the Ferrari, right in the slipstream. When will be the moment he decides to duck out and try to challenge that top 5 position into turn 12. Flashing the lights, thinking about sending the late move, but just not quite close enough to do so yet. And as we go into the stadium section, Freeman still ahead, holding on to that top 5 spot. And out of the triple right-hander, Raza thinking about setting up the move, but great defensive posture thrown by Alex Freeman, not allowing any space for Raza to take the position. Contact front to back, Raza into Freeman in the braking zone of the final corner. And with Freeman getting shuffled a touch wide, Raza now has the inside going into turn 1. Will he send the move? He will. Alex Freeman goes very deep, but able to at least hold on to 6th, with Chris Laronde thinking of sticking the nose of the Mustang into the apex of turn 1 as well. Justin Beachley on the back of Laronde now in this battle for 7th place. There's been a change in the podium positions. Zach Terrell got through Mason Perchalski to take 3rd place away from the Aston Martin, but they are still very close. And look at that, that's a pretty good gap or good train we have developing behind Zach Terrell. Perchalski, then Raza, then Freeman, then Laronde, and Beachley joining the mix as well in the AMG. So 3rd to 8th, all going down the back straight. And lots of positions still yet to be decided. As Perchalski now under pressure from Raza, the Ferrari that started on the front row, getting shuffled down just a touch at the start into turn 11, and making up ground pretty effectively in the first 10 minutes of the race here, already back into a top 5 spot and looking to make it 4th, hoping to get by the Aston Martin of Mason Perchalski. And down the inside of the final corner, very late move from the Ferrari, kind of snuck up on the Aston Martin and got the move done, and into fourth place goes Luca Razza. So now less than a second separate the Ferrari from the Mustang, holding on to that final podium position. It's Ricardo Rivera in the race lead by 4 seconds over Jeremy Wasson, who got that second place position after starting in the top 5. Got through a handful of drivers and benefited from Terrell and Razza going off at turn 11. But nonetheless, he's built a 6.7 second gap over Terrell, who holds on to that final podium position. Then Razza chasing in 4th, Mason Perchalski in 5th, Alex Freeman sits in 6th place, Chris Rondi in 7th, but under pressure from Justin Beachley in 8th position. Then you have Leo Polanco in 9th, and Jake Terrell recovering at the moment. He's got the final spot in the top 10. And about a 5.5 second gap separating him from his next contender, Leo Polanco. Good gaggle of cars battling here. With Luca Razza trying to close in on Jeremy Wasson. Ultimately for that second place position where he started, but at the moment he is trying to get by Zach Terrell. And that was a hair-raising moment. The Ferrari wanted the inside, but Terrell already committing to the corner. No room given for the 35 to sneak on through, as he did on the previous lap to the Aston Martin of Mason Perchalski. And as we go into the S's, Mustang leads the Ferrari, leading the Aston Martin, as we have 5 different manufacturers inside the top 5 as well. Beachley getting pretty close to Larondi as they get onto the back straight, with Beachley in the slipstream of the Mustang in front. But he's just not able to close in on the Mustang despite having that slipstream. Closing in on the braking zones though. As we have unfortunately lost Brian DeSantiago from this race in the 777 Lexus. And so into the final corner we go. Is the Ferrari going to shape up the move like he did on the previous lap? Not this time. Luca Razza being a little more patient and maybe gonna line the Mustang up into a late move into turn 1, but even with the slipstream, the Mustang able to pull away in the straight line speed. All this battle should hopefully help Jeremy Wasson escape up the road. But as it stands, the time is dropping, and I think it was Wasson that is stranded at the side of the road there with the engine revving. He is just getting back going now. Oh no, he's gone from second all the way down to 8th place. And maybe even 9th as Polanco goes through as well. So Zach Terrell now fighting for 2nd place with Luka Radza. And Mason Perchalski not too far behind in this battle for the podium positions. Freeman dropping back a touch from Perchalski. 4 seconds separates number 14 Ferrari from the Aston Martin as Radza goes down the inside of turn 16. The Mustang, though, has the inside for the triple right-hander. Can he defend the attack being thrown his way from the Ferrari? The switchback on from Radza, and he goes through into turn 19, the 35, back up to the position he started, but Terrell is not going to give up without a fight. To the final corner we go. Mustang gets back ahead of the Ferrari, and it's Mason Perchalski who gets a good exit out of the final corner. He's looking to line up the cars up ahead of him, but I think he's just a little too far back to try to send that move on the Ferrari. But it's Radza going a little deep. Mason Perchalski oversteers and into the wall. A slight tap into the barrier for the number 10, as now Alex Freeman trying to go through into the S's. Can he fight through? Mason Perchalski hangs on as there is a huge gaggle of cars behind, and another slight oversteer moment for the Aston. The Ferrari having to take evasive action. Justin Beachley nowhere to go. Just Jeremy Wasson gains a few places in the 69 Lexus in all of this, and now a 6-car battle developing here with Alex Freeman leading the way, and there is Jake Terrell joining the mix as well. A change in position here out of turn 11. The Ferrari getting ahead of the Mustang, but with the straight line speed, Zach Terrell powers on through. Great racing between these two drivers in the podium positions. Radza back to 3rd after momentarily having a glimpse of 2nd place. And into the stadium section around the outside, trying to fight for that place, but there is just no room for him to go through. Out of the triple right-hander into turn 19. The Ferrari thinking about lining up the move. But once again, great defense from Terrell. But a feint from the Ferrari might have just made Terrell run a touch wide, but he's not worried about it. He's got the straight line speed to deal with the Ferrari behind in that department. He just needs the track position to be ahead in the straight line speed department before the twisty S's, where Radza seems to really have an advantage compared to the Mustang, but there is just no room to go through at this part of the track. And so the cars behind Perchalski gets back ahead of Freeman. Justin Beachley in 6th. Jake Terrell with a bit of a slip there, momentarily opening up the door for Leo Polanco to try to go through, but he's able to cover that off as Terrell up 3 places from 10th to 7th now. Polanco in 8th, Laurandi in 9th, and Wasson gets shuffled back down to 10th place. And once again, out of turn 11, it's the Ferrari that leads, but the Mustang has the slipstream, has the straight line speed advantage. Will we see a send down the inside from the Mustang? He's lining it up. Raza didn't cover it off completely as Terrell has a nose in there. Raza goes a touch wide as these two gonna continue to battle it out for second and third place. Now it's the Mustang that's going to have the outside into the stadium section, where the Ferrari goes a little bit deep. The switchback opportunity opens up for Terrell as he now has to go the long way around. It's going to be very tricky for him to do that compared to the Ferrari, who seems to have this advantage in the corners, but in the straights is really where Terrell can try and take advantage and have that late send into both turn 1 and turn 12. Right on the back of Raza, he goes defensive. Mustang has to go the long way around at turn 1. Dropping back on the brakes. The switchback is on once again, and the Mustang goes through. Halfway into this one, still anybody's positions for these final two steps of the podium between Raza and Terrell. With all of the battling going on, Prochalski trying to close on in, as that is Raza trying to go down the inside of turn 7. No room there. Still side by side through turn 7, up the crest at turn 9, and now back down the hill we go. Raza ahead of the Mustang, but the straights are coming for Terrell to use that straight line speed advantage. And once again, he tries the switchback, but there's an oversteer moment from Zach Terrell, and he drops back over a second behind the Ferrari, really hurting his chances of trying to fight into turn 12. We have seen Freeman and Beachley battle it out in the GT4s at ACC, and now we are seeing them in Le Mans Ultimate in the GT3s here. Freeman leads Beachley, and this is for a spot in the top 5. Beachley running a touch wide out of the penultimate corner, just trying to carry all of the speed he can in his efforts of closing on Alex Freeman. But in the meantime, he also has Jake Terrell behind him, closing that gap to try and get himself back into a top 5 position. All of the fighting for Raza has left a 22-second gap between himself and Ricardo Rivera, leading the race in the number 53 Lamborghini. Porsche trying to close in on the AMG of Justin Beachley. Very, very effectively doing so into the braking zone of turn 11. And now we'll have a considerable slipstream coming off of the back of the AMG in front. But despite this, Justin Beachley still able to pull away in the straight line speed. Great shot from that still camera. You nearly saw. Oh my goodness, the closing speed of the Porsche to the AMG, nearly seeing a collision. Terrell going into the back of Beachley, but able to avoid that. My goodness, how close was that between them? And what a difference a lap can make now. Terrell all over the back of Justin Beachley, trying desperately to get that position back. Just seems like the setups between the different manufacturers and between the different drivers as well really showing in the race here. Those with a little more aero on the car can really benefit in the braking zones and the S's, as we see Jake Terrell getting very close to the back of the AMG once again. But here in the straight, the AMG going to be able to pull away. As it stands, 0.6 separate the Porsche and the AMG, already up to 0.7 halfway down the straight. So nearly 0.2 gained on that straight for the AMG compared to the Porsche, with the Ferrari of Alex Freeman in front punching a hole in the air for the AMG as well. Great battles all the way up and down the grid as we go into the closing 14 minutes of the race. Out of the final corner. It is not looking... I was gonna say it's not looking likely that Terrell can take advantage into turn one, but he does just that. With the late send into the huge braking zone up the hill, the Porsche takes the position away from Justin Beachley and gets up to 6th. Oh, Terrell goes spinning. Took my eyes off the screen for a second and the Porsche's facing the wrong way. Oh no, what happened there to Terrell? It was looking good there for Terrell in his efforts to try and come back, but back to the pits goes the Porsche. So Brian DeSantiago now with some company in the pit lane. Unfortunately losing 2 drivers in the race. Rivera pulling even more of a gap out to Ratza. It's now hovering around 24.5 seconds between the lead Lamborghini and the number 35 Ferrari. Zach Terrell holds on to the final podium position He is in third place in the number 33 Mustang. Then you got Mason Perchalski running in fourth. Alex Freeman behind him in fifth. He's got company behind in the form of Justin Beachley, Leo Polanco, and Chris Laronde here in the 317 Mustang. Jeremy Wasson 4.5 seconds down the road in the number 69 Lexus in ninth. And George Elmer rounds out the top 10 in the number 22 Mustang. But his position certainly isn't confirmed just yet, because he may take the position from Jeremy Wasson in front and Pena behind in the number 50. Wants to steal that top 10 place position away from Elmer. Three different manufacturers once again here battling on track. Lexus leading the Mustang, leading the AMG. And they all look pretty evenly matched in the straight line speed department. No one really able to take advantage with the slipstream either. Beachley and Freeman continuing to fight for that top 5 position. Freeman was momentarily running in 4th, but dropping back down now to 5th. With the pair of AMGs behind him, Justin Beachley right on his tail, and Leo Polanco not too far off as well in the number 51 AMG. Now to turn 1. Doesn't look like either one of these cars has too big of an advantage. In the straight, at least. But going into through the S's, the Ferrari momentarily having a pretty decent gap. And as they go up the hill and right back down again, Freeman still leads the 2 AMGs, and Chris Laronde rounding out this train in the 317 Mustang. George Elmer gets up to 9th place, with Jeremy Wasson getting shuffled down to the back of this trio of cars, battling for a spot in the top 10. Just unlucky for Jeremy Wasson. He was running in the podium positions at one point, but the Lexus getting shuffled down just a touch to outside the top 10, but still with a shot of getting ahead of Pena and maybe even George Elmer as well. So Mason Perchalski trying to close the gap to Terrell. There's the Mustang right ahead of him for that final place on the podium. 1.3 seconds the gap between the Aston and the Mustang. Can Mason Perchalski fight back? They had a good battle earlier on in the race as well. But unfortunately, we saw Mason Perchalski with a bit of an oversteer moment. Just a slight tap of the wall exiting turn 1. But he is certainly clawing his way back onto the tail of the Mustang. As Alex Freeman now finds himself behind the pair of AMGs. So Justin Beachley now in the top 5. Leo Polanco right behind him in the number 51. As they go down the back straight into turn 12. Equal machinery here, just down to maybe slightly varied setup between the two of them. And the two AMGs side by side through the first part of the triple right-hander. Polanco trying to get a switchback done and line up a move into turn 19, but just unable to find the room with Justin Beachley covering off that opportunity. To the inside of turn 1, Polanco thought about the move. He pulled out really aggressively and the tires just could not keep the grip, losing the position to Alex Freeman as well. He was lining up Justin Beachley, but in doing so goes deep. After slightly losing control of the rear end in the braking zone, Alex Freeman fortunately able to pick up a position as well. So down the back straight we go. Terrell still in that final podium position. Mason Perchalski within a second. He wants that to get that place away and finish as high up as he possibly can in the race tonight. Out of the triple right-hander. Just the final 2 corners left on this lap. And now what will be 2 laps remaining for the grid once they cross the start-finish line. Terrell holding on for just 2 more laps to see if he can get that Mustang onto the podium position. With Ricardo Rivera leading by 30 seconds over Ratza in second, Terrell in third, Perchalski fourth, Beachley in that final spot in the top 5, Freeman in sixth, Polanco seventh, Wasson getting back through the duo he was battling with. He gets through up to 8th, Edward Pena in 9th, Elmer rounds out the top 10 as Chris Laronde gets shuffled back down to 11th place, but he's on the back of fellow Mustang driver George Elmer for that final spot in the top 10. Lots of little battles going on here in the final stage stages of the race. Perchalski down the inside of turn 12. Zach Terrell on the outside tries to get the switchback. He gets the power down pretty effectively. Perchalski down the inside for turn 13 and covering off the position, but the Aston is very squirrely on the exit, getting a lot of oversteer out of that rear end, but hanging on to what is now a third place position for Mason Perchalski. Ricardo Rivera on the final lap for himself in the race lead. Jake Terrell losing out to Mason Perchalski on the previous lap. It's now just 1 3.5 mile lap left for the Mustang to try and get that place back from the Aston Martin. And the battle between Polanco and Freeman not over yet, as Polanco thinking of the move into turn 1, but down the hill into turn 2. He has the nose alongside, but it's Alex Freeman who will still hang on to 6th as they go into the S's. Certainly haven't had to say Ricardo Rivera's name much today, because he has pulled another dominant performance here tonight in the Spring Championship. Into the final 2 corners now, just 1 remaining for Ricardo Rivera to make it 6 wins out of 7 races on the season. He will see the checkered flag first, and across the line goes the Lamborghini to secure his championship win here tonight in round number 7. A dominant performance over Luca Razza in second. An up and down race from the Ferrari. Started in second, got dropped back down to 8th at one point, and recovering back up to second. And a good race for the number 35 to recover back up to that second place position. And Mason Perchalski has dropped back out of the podium places, which means Zach Terrell will take 3rd. And in fact, Perchalski dropping back to 5th, which means Justin Beachley will finish in 4th. Alex Freeman takes 6th across the line, as Leo Polanco with a 3-car battle there. Polanco across the line in 7th, Wasson in 8th, Pena in 9th place, as George Elmer will be the top Mustang of the duo between himself and Larondi. And Dr. Porkchop, after having to take an early pit stop, good perseverance from him to continue on and see the checkered flag in this one. Unlucky there at the end for fellow Aston Martin driver Mason Perchalski, falling from 3rd to 5th in the final lap, giving that 3rd place position to Zach Terrell. We'll have to ask him exactly what happened there. Maybe there was contact between them, just a self-inflicted moment for the Aston, but nonetheless, it's Dr. Porkchop who will take the checkered flag in 12th place. Great perseverance from the doctor to continue on after that unforeseen pit stop in the first 5 minutes of the race. As we will take it back to our Trackalicious studio, we invite the podium sitters for a quick chat once again as to how your guys' race went on. And we just have Ricardo Rivera, and as I say that, Zach Terrell joining as well. Welcome in, Ricardo. Welcome in, Zach. How's it going, gentlemen?
Hello, hello.
Oh, everything good?
Doing good. Ricardo, another dominant performance for you there, my friend. I think a little bit of contact between second and third place at the time kind of let you have a bit of a gap at the early stages, and you really didn't let off the gas, and I think it was right around 30 seconds at the end there.
Yeah, this is one of my favorite tracks, actually. I was hoping for a little bit more of a fight. It was a little bit shameful that the two other fast guys got contact in very early in the race, because I think they had a lot of more pace in some certain part of the tracks, and I was faster in other different part of the track, so I think it will have been a very fun race with maybe some position changes in the front.
Yeah, I agree. We were kind of commenting on that the whole race, where it seemed like one car has an advantage in the corners, then one car has a very clear advantage in the straights. The Mustang looked like had a pretty good advantage in the straights there, Zach, as you were able to defend from the Ferrari pretty well down all those straightaways.
Oh yeah, that was a fun fight with Raza. I knew he had a second on me pace-wise, but he had already gotten into the back of me once earlier, so I was really trying not to let him by. I wanted him to work for it, and I mean, hopefully he caught it, but I mean, we were definitely going back and forth for a little bit.
Yeah, and talk us through what happened at the end there as well. You're able to sneak, you lost that podium position to Mason going down the back straight, and then got it right back on the final lap.
Yeah, so I think he was just trying to push through hard through the S's, and he looped it midway through, so I got a little gift from Mason there.
Gotcha.
It's just the Mustang's so understeery through the S's, and I got to take it slow, and that's where Raza got into the back of me. But once we got through the S's, the Mustang just really performed through the rest of the track.
Oh, excuse me. Even with the slipstream, they were struggling to get close to you there. And I think, Ricardo, with this win tonight, I think you may have just secured yourself a championship here tonight in the GT3 sprint season. Of course, with the drop rounds to consider as well. I think that's going to secure that championship for you, my friend. Well done.
Yeah, thank you very much.
First Trackalicious podium, so decent Tuesday for me.
Oh, well done, Zach. Congrats.
Nice. Yes.
Congrats on that as well to you. Yeah, we're used to seeing Jacob here. Just unlucky there for him tonight in the Porsche, yeah.
He had a rough one.
That's racing some days. Some days it goes your way, some days it doesn't. Yeah. But still, yeah, Terrell on the podium, Ricardo Rivera on the top spot. Thank you, gents, for joining us tonight. Good luck next week. We'll see how the podiums shape up. Move you guys on back here to the green room. Thank you, Ricardo. Thank you, Zach, for joining us for a quick chat. And that brings us to the end of round number 7 here at COTA for the Trackalicious Le Mans Ultimate GT3 Spring Championship. Next week, we will have the season finale, and still lots of positions in the championship yet to be wrapped up. Tomorrow, we go into round number 5, into the second half of the season for the Wednesday ACC Multi-Class Championships, where they go into Brands Hatch. Should be really fun multi-class action there between the GT3s and the GT4s, and it is multi-class action for the rest of the week. First, it's iRacing on Thursdays, and then Le Mans Ultimate on Fridays. Sundays, we have the MX5 Cup in iRacing starting back up, so get signed up for that on SimGrid, and any other championship as well, for that matter, will be on SimGrid. On Monday, we go to the ACC GT4 Rookies, going into the final 3 rounds for them. Round number 6 next week. And we will see how they will get on with the figure of 8 track at Suzuka before we head to the season finale next Tuesday for the GT3 championship. So that will do it for us here tonight at Trackalicious. We are going to send over a big old friendly raid to our friends at Noobs Are Us, doing some ACC action tonight in their season, providing some commentary. So stick around for that. Thank you, as always, to everybody watching along, racing, and all the admins, stewards, doing all of the difficult work in the background for us to be able to put on a good show, nice and smooth for everybody as well. Thank you, as always, to the drivers. Couldn't be a show without you guys signing up and racing throughout the entire championship. So stick around for the raid. Thanks for watching tonight. Join Trackalicious in the coverage the rest of the weeks in all of those series. Until then, have a good rest of your morning, afternoon, evening, or night, wherever you may be watching us from. We'll see you next time.